Hi, I'm Lauren from LSP Actions, and today I'm going to walk you through the Portrait Studio Vogue Photoshop Action Collection. This set contains over 120 actions in workflow order and is designed for beginners and professionals alike to transform your portrait images into polished, high-end, bespoke pieces of art in just a fraction of the time this would normally take you. This set contains everything you can think of when it comes to editing studio galleries. It's suited for all studio images, from young children right through to adults, families and more. The set will adapt to your own vision and allows you total creative freedom when retouching your portraits. You can create painterly fine art style, you can also create clean and polished or anywhere in between. So let's take a look at some of the sections included. You can see here my action panel is on grey editing mode. It's much better to be on button mode when using Photoshop Actions because this means you can't accidentally alter them or toggle them. They're also in one-click order when they're on button mode, which is great. If you wish to stay on editing mode, that's fine. You can simply click on the action and then come down here to the play button to play it. To view in editing mode, you need to come up here to these little lines, button mode, and click where it says button mode here. I can drag them in a little bit, and this means they display a little better. If you notice yours are all over the place like this, just simply come here until your mouse changes into the little arrows and drag it in until they're all in a nice neat column. And here you can simply click one of the actions and it will play out. If you can't see your actions panel for some reason, you can click on this little play button here to pull the action panel out or come up to Window, Actions. You can also decide where you want your actions to go. You can pull them in to this side if you prefer to work from the left, or pull them in here if you prefer to work from the right. So I've just clicked here on the darkroom section and the brighten exposure. I'm just going to pop that down for a minute and I'm going to go through the sections and show you them properly. So to begin with, at the top you have some instructions and an LSP translate layer if you don't have a background layer here. Next up you have your kit bag. This is great for coming back to and clicking if you need to batch actions across several open images. You can undo as many times as you want to. You can hide a layer on action, delete the layer of the action, save the original file, you can take a snapshot and flatten if you need to. All sorts of things there in one-click order, which save you kind of clicking around on the menu. Next up you have the darkroom. This is the one-click fix section. These options affect your whole image. You can play and slide the opacity, or you can play more than once to build up the effect. So for example, if I'm brightening up the exposure here, I've just played it once, I can play it again until I'm happy. I can change the white balance here, for example, by clicking on just the white balance. So you can kind of mix and match and pick and choose until you're happy with your image. You see the effect is really subtle, yet true to your image it will adapt. And you can play it more than once or come up here and slide the opacity to strengthen or take down the effect. This section is a great place to start because it means you can do this before your main edit and you can set your image up right, meaning less time retouching. And when you're done, take a snapshot and flatten. Now we come on to the portrait bases. You can play one or you can play all of these and mix and match them to set up a base edit that will balance and bring in your photo, but it will not affect your whole overall image. It will keep your background layer intact. All LSP actions are non-destructive, leaving you completely in control of your edit. Once the bases are finished playing out, you can then slide the opacity and tweak as needed to really make it suit your style and your vision. So you'll see here, because I clicked played all, these are actually invisible. There's no eye next to them. So I can turn these on. This is the dark art base, the balanced base, or the bright touch base. You can have all of them on and mix and match as needed by turning them on or off, by sliding the opacity up and down, or if you don't want to use a base, you don't have to. Everything here is optional. Everything can be mixed with other actions or your own hand editing. So I'm simply just clicking around until I find kind of a general look that I'm happy with, and then snapshot and flatten. So now we get to the brush sections. This is the fun part. This is where you can really tweak and tailor your image. So first up is the multi-layer workflow, which sets up a whole basic retouching sequence for you. This is great to batch across a whole load of images to set the scene for a super fast edit perhaps, without having to think about what to do next. The layers with black layer masks here are hidden, so you're just going to need to paint those on with a white brush. I recommend using 100% opacity and 25% flow, and you can choose where you want to paint on. So I'm just going to highlight the flow up here and change that to 25%. Make sure your brush is on normal. If it's not, you can simply click here and choose normal. So I recommend starting at the bottom of a workflow base and working your way up, but you can kind of mix and match and pick and choose wherever you like. So I'm going to zoom in here on the face a little bit. I'm going to grab a white brush, and first up is the Reduce Blemishes layer. So I'm just going to paint this over anywhere she had a little bit of glitter under the eye. I don't know if you can see that there. So rather than having to patch or clone, I can simply kind of paint over any of these areas here and just quickly get rid of them. Next up we have Softened Skin. This is a nice gentle skin smooth layer, so I'm just going to rub that over. Again, all of these are optional. You don't have to use any of the layers here. You might just want to use one or two, you might want to use all of them. It all depends on your editing style. Next up is Sharpen Details, so I'm going to use this to brush over any details in the image that I really want to kind of bring the focus back to and the attention to there. Mainly the eyes, the lips, anywhere else on the kind of the focal plane. Extra Detail Pop, this one's really good for eyelashes and brows, anywhere else you really definitely want to pop. So add warmth if your image is a bit cool. You can paint on some warmth perhaps into the skin. See there, turn that one on or off. You can change the opacity or turn it off if you're not happy. And again, cool down. I don't think I need to cool the image down, although I may paint a little around the edge just to get kind of more of a blue colour into the background, but I don't know. It's entirely up to you, whatever you want to create. Darken areas here, so I'm just going to paint this over anywhere I want to darken. I'm going to turn that cool down off. I really don't like that too much for this image. Brighten areas. This is good for the face. I'm just going to grab a white brush, brighten it up a little bit. White is show, black is hide, so you can always change to black and paint it away. Bright eyes. And use a white brush to just paint this over the eyes. Really click it a few times on the iris. I also like to paint another highlight here opposite the catch light. Lifting up the shadows. Again, you can see there if I turn the layer mask on or off, that does lift the shadows up out of your image if you wanted to do that. Bright eyes, I think I've gone a little bit too far, so I'm going to turn that one down. Reduce the highlights. I may use this a little bit over that side of the face where it's just blown out a touch. Some depth. You can use this to paint on exactly what it says on the tin, a little bit of depth into your image. And then we have extra lift and contrast. You can turn these on or off or slide them up. The white layer masks mean they're showing over your whole image. Let's see where we were before and after using the brushes. And snapshot and flatten. You may find using the portrait workflow enough for your images if they don't need very much retouching, or you may want to come and tailor further. And that's when this whole retouching brush section comes in handy. So you have the balance and shade brushes. This is for lightening, darkening, adding contrast, anything like that to your image. Again, these are brushes, so we'll have a black layer mask. A white brush is selected for you. You just need to paint these on with a soft white brush. So I'm just adding some darkness under here. These actions are very subtle but very effective. So we turn that on and off and you can see. You can burn and dodge, whiten, blacken, anything like that. So if I wanted to perhaps whiten this dress a little. You can rescue highlights, lift shadows up, boost the contrast perhaps a little bit, and maybe lift those shadows. in the areas of the hair, which I feel are getting a little bit too dark now. So I'm just going to rescue some of those. Oh, excuse me. Sliding the opacity till I'm happy and flattening. So I have some colour fix brushes here. I may fix a little bit of the red here on the skin. A grey skin fix for this area here, which is kind of really in the shadow. So I'm just going to bring a little bit of colour back into that skin and take it down. Really just do exactly whatever you want to do. All the options are here. You can softly warm, a tonal boost, calm, cool, things like that. Retouch brushes here. Brightening up, adding some contouring, a bit of powder puff, removing the blemishes, erasing spots and acne, reducing wrinkles and lines perhaps on your older clients, softening pores, adding skin foundations. I'm just going to add a light skin foundation, I think, to this image. But I will go into more detail about the brushes in some of the other edits. This is adding a flawless foundation to the skin now. So you can see that. And again, you can take it down or up or whatever you want to do. You can add some texture back to the skin if you want to. If you find it's getting a little soft, you can add some texture in there, which will look great in print. Flatten down. Detail brushes. These are great for sharpening, for doing the eyes, for taking away any stray hairs. Let me show you the stray hairs action here. So if you're photographing anyone with long hair, you may notice you get the odd hair coming in on the forehead or across the eyes. Obviously it's best to try and get this in camera in the studio, but it's not always possible. So you can use this action to kind of minimise any hairs that are coming in front of your subject. There. You see that? And flatten. But you can play and play if you want to with these actions. So now we come to the manual section, the advanced retouching section. This is for, exactly as it says on the tin, advanced retouching should you need it. You have frequency separation, which sets up really quickly and suits all images there, which you can use. You have dodge and burn layers. You have your classic kind of, your classic grey dodge and burn, using white to dodge and black to burn. You also have my versions of dodge and burn, which is LSP burn the shadows. Use that with a white brush. LSP dodge the highlights. Use that with a white brush. Get rid of those. You have my famous select and fix action here, and a banding reduce texture. So if you have any banding in on the background, you can use that one there to kind of paint over the banding, which will really help when it comes to print. And finally, you come to the finishing section here. This is where you can really transform your portrait into your own polished work of art, however you like. You can simply click these. These are very similar to the first section of the image, where it's just kind of one click and slide, and you can choose, you know, any of these finishing touches here. Peach Pit, Drake is one of my my very favourites. I've just played matte there. Slide the opacity, mix and match, kind of create your own tailored finish to the image. I'm going to play Drake. Drake kind of gives a really nice kind of matty, kind of a turquoise blue grey effect, which I think would really suit this image quite nicely. I'm just going to take the opacity down, 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 perhaps to there, and snapshot and flatten. There are also a few background textures automatically built in, which you can use to wash over your image and add a little bit more interest and depth to the background. You're going to need to paint these off your subject's face. A black brush will already be selected for you, so you can simply paint this off the skin. You can see their texture has been added to the background, should you wish to use it. These also go really well with the LSP texture overlays. And flatten. You have a whole black and white section here as well. One of the newer options I've added in is create a new image for black and white. So you may want to have a colour version and a black and white version. So you have your colour version here, which you can save, you can edit, you can change as much as you like. These shadows here are annoying me a little bit, so I'm just going to lift the shadows up by playing the shadow lift brush. Not so much on the face, just there a little bit. Okay, so over on the black and white conversion now, so you can see we have two images open. It's just absolutely copied your image over onto a new one here, so there's no chance of saving over your original with the black and white. So I'm going to come all the way back down to the black and white section here. Black and white conversion, play this one first. If you're happy, you can just go ahead and save. If not, you can play any of the extras here, such as mattify. And you can add contrast. Oh, just played matte again. Oh no, I didn't. I'm just going to come back on the, there we go, and add contrast. You can burn the shadows and make them darker, or dodge the highlights, which is make them brighter. You can whiten or blacken any area of your image if you wanted to, or add your own hand editing layers to really make the black and white your own. Most important thing when doing a black and white is to really, make it black and white. You don't want a grey image. You can also come back up here to the retouching brushes. Here, for example, bright eyes, and you can carry on, editing and making the black and white conversion your own too. Just brighten those eyes up. Just add a little bit of brightness there as well. And perhaps another detail pot, because when I do black and white, I really like a very crisp black and white. But you may prefer a softer black and white. As you can see here, simple black and white, added a touch of matte, a little contrast. You can still come back and edit these until you flatten. Brighten those eyes and lips up just a little and pop those details out. I'm going to come up here to the balance and shade area and lift the shadows. I just want to rescue some of the shadows in this side of the hair a little bit more. Just pick out some of those highlights though. Snapshot and flatten. So I'm going to just take this and pop it over here so we can see the black and white conversion and the colour, which I think are really quite cool. Because I took snapshots, you can go back and see your edit. So this is where we started. And you can see the actions that we used here as well. So before and after, and black and white. And that is using the LSP Portrait Studio Retouch Collection for Photoshop. And that's available at www.lsp-actions.com. Please watch the other videos for some faster edits. This was a very in-depth, very slow walkthrough of how to use all of the sections. But the other videos are a lot faster, a lot choppier, and will give you some more insight into how to use these actions.